Okay, we're going to be discussing ethics in business again. While individuals are responsible to act both ethically and legally, businesses are expected to do the same thing as well. Ethics, it's defined as a moral principle or value that governs actions, decisions of individuals or of a group. Ethics are going to deal with more of a personal value and morals. So law and ethics are not the same. The law is going to determine what we're required to do and what we are prohibited from doing. If the law is violated, it can be addressed by going to court or going through the court system, which cannot be said about ethical behavior. The law sets the minimum standard of behavior, while the ethics, on the other hand, it sets the maximum standard. So what we have here is a diagram of the ethical things versus legal. And this is something that the marketers use to determine whether or not a decision they're making is ethical, or is it legal, or is it both ethical and legal? One of the easiest ways to determine that is by looking at this matrix to see where an action a marketer may try to do, where it lies within this matrix or this diagram. So in the top left hand corner, we see ethical but illegal actions. Sometimes it's justifiable to break the law. An example of this would be a pharmaceutical rep giving kickbacks to a doctor or a pharmacy. In some states, there are laws that prohibit the value of a gift that a pharmaceutical rep can give to a doctor or to a pharmacy. The state views the gift as a way of bribing doctors to prescribe certain medications. So the pharmaceutical company, however, does not see anything wrong with providing a little bit of sales incentives to the pharmacies and the doctors. And this can be viewed as a reward versus a bribe. So certain laws, though, you'll get heavily penalized, or the pharmaceutical company will get heavily penalized, and the reps will get penalized who exceed whatever the maximum gift value is. So sometimes some states do allow pharmaceutical companies to give gifts or incentives, sales incentives, so that their drug can be used. Now, in the top right hand corner, you have your ethical and your legal actions. Those are the behaviors that comply both with ethical and legal. And it follows all of the personal code of conduct. So things like in the workplace nowadays, they promote diversity. That's something that's both ethical, because you want to have a diverse work group, and it's legal because it's allowing different groups to be able to be employed or have certain positions. In the bottom left hand corner, you have the unethical and illegal behaviors. Now these both, they aren't ethical, so the code of conduct, they pretty much kick that right out the door, and they're unlawful. So that would be, an example of that would be something like discriminating against someone if they're trying to get housing or trying to get a job somewhere. You can't discriminate based on religion, age, gender, and a bunch of other things. So that's unethical and that's illegal. Right here in the bottom right hand corner, you have the unethical but legal marketing actions. And these are behaviors, again, that are unethical, but they don't break the law. An example of this would be tobacco products being sold and distributed. Many anti-smoking advocates, like several years ago, I haven't seen it in a while, but the truth ads. They feel that it's unethical to sell tobacco products, since those tobacco products can lead to a variety of life-threatening diseases and illnesses. However, the government still allows tobacco products to be sold, so it's not illegal. It may not be ethical to sell a product that can ultimately kill the consumer, but on the other hand, it's legal. All right, so in 1962, President John F. Kennedy presented to the U.S. Congress, he discussed 4 basic consumer rights, which later became known as the Consumer Bill of Rights. Now there's 4. You have right to safety, right to be informed, right to choose, and right to be heard. The right to safety, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission has one job, and that's to monitor the safety of over 15,000 products that consumers use. Businesses and the government have to adhere to and enforce certain standards to ensure that products that consumers use are safe. The right to be informed, marketers have to give consumers complete and accurate information about products or services that they're marketing. So if you think about the last prescription commercial you saw on TV, I see them on the local channels like at least 5 or 6 times, throughout an hour that I'm watching TV. And if you think about it, throughout that whole commercial, you most likely will hear how the medication can assist you, but the majority of the commercial, it's talking about all the side effects that might happen if you take the medicine. So if marketers and advertisers are not completely transparent about that information, they can get into a lot of trouble legally if the consumer gets injured or gets sick. The right to choose refers to when businesses allow consumers the ability to have many different options to choose from. So think about a supermarket chain where you have all these different options. Supermarkets, they might get incentives from manufacturers if they place the manufacturer or the company that's selling something, if they place it a certain place throughout the store or somewhere on the shelves. Not all manufacturers can abide, though, which could it could lead into fewer options if these companies, if these supermarkets don't allow certain products to be sold in their stores because they're not receiving incentives from these other companies. So they'll make sure that any company that gives them some type of incentive or benefit, they'll make sure that their product gets shown and placed in the most opportunistic places. While if another company that doesn't give incentives, if they don't put if they don't give them incentives, they may decide not to even carry their product. So the last right is the right to be heard. The consumers should be able to reach individuals who influence public policy about products and services. If a consumer has a complaint about a product, they should be able to get in touch with someone who can act on it. So customer service, you're allowed to provide feedback on social media, by emailing the company, and all different ways for a company to know whether or not you have a complaint about a product. One local business that does this is the Better Business Bureau, where if you have problems with the company, you can send a complaint to them, and if that company's part of the Better Business Bureau, they'll receive something from the Better Business Bureau, and they usually act on it pretty quick because they want to have a good standing with the Better Business Bureau. marketers are tasked with social responsibility as well. Organizations, since they're part of society, they have to watch their actions on how it impacts the society. There are three different facets of social responsibility. You have profit responsibility, stakeholder responsibility, and societal responsibility. As you can see in this graphic, the three concepts are shown here. The profit responsibility is the smallest circle in the graphic because it impacts the fewest amount of people. It's the responsibility of a company to make sure that they make profits for the owners and the stockholders of the company. The next circle is the stakeholder responsibility. That's the center circle. The stakeholder responsibility is the company's responsibility to those who are affecting the achievement of the company's goals and objectives. So the groups that are affected by the stakeholder responsibility are the employees, the suppliers, the distributors, as well as the consumers. Companies are responsible for providing their employees with financial security because the employee may also be a consumer. So they want to make sure that their employees are paid and that their consumers are able to purchase their products. They're also responsible for employee benefits, making sure that the employee has a positive work environment and safety. The largest circle is the societal responsibility circle. And this is the largest because it impacts the largest portion of society, the general public as a whole. Organizations have an obligation to preserve the environment and act in the best interest of the public. Marketers engage in sustainable marketing to address the needs of the economy, whether it's locally, nationally, or internationally. They have to take care of the economy, as well as the environment and the society. When organizations engage in sustainable marketing, they are looking to meet the needs of the current generation while also keeping in mind that they don't want to mess up things for the future generation. Sustainable marketing is extremely popular nowadays as businesses have recognized that people are more environmentally friendly and environmentally conscious and want companies to cater to their beliefs and their preferences. Since these individuals are also consumers, companies must embrace consumer beliefs. So an example of this would be organic food. In the past, to get organic food, we would have to grow the food ourselves. We weren't able to go to a store and there'd be a section specifically for organic food like it is today. So now you can go to pretty much any grocery store or any supermarket and you're going to see a section that has organic food with all types of options. Consumers are now embracing organic food options and in turn are looking for other ways to kind of lower or minimize their environmental footprint so that future generations won't have any problems with things that we're doing nowadays.